So just as a quick introduction, my name is Rami. I'm the CEO here at EvenUp. I'm joined by my colleague Sam, and then also Johnson, who's one of our data scientists. And I'm going to quickly go through just a handful of slides just to explain what we do in a little bit more detail. And then we have a pretty exciting demo that Johnson's going to show you folks, really along the theme of automation. But first, what is EvenUp? EvenUp is a San Francisco tech company. And the reason why we exist is to really help unlock the full value of claims through automation. And I'm sure this is a story that all of you folks know, but insurance companies generally tend to have a lot of data and a lot of software to the detriment of the plaintiff side. And what we want to do and why we call this company EvenUp is because we do want to even up the playing field. So if you think of the number one problem that, when we first started the company, we heard that this consistently case managers and paralegals to an extent juggle a lot of different responsibilities across the board, whether it's drafting demands, talking to clients, following up on treatment. And if you think about what that does, ultimately, it leads to inconsistent demands and potentially lost revenue. What I mean by inconsistent demands is usually, we see this a lot pretty often, but sometimes some type of treatment is missed, or there are delays and some type of documentation is just not in the actual demand. And so ultimately, when we thought about this, if you thought about the work that gets done into a demand, a lot of it, there's a lot of art to it, but there's also some of the more repetitive, mundane works, which usually comes around going through medical records in a lot of detail, and also in the turnaround time. You could be sitting on a demand, specifically the more complicated ones that generally take a while to get through. And what we thought about this is like, hey, let's just focus on this one problem and see how we can help out. And so the way we do this is, as Dunya mentioned, we actually have a team of legal veterans, so primarily former defense counsel, and Sam is in the audience here. We pair that with our world-class engineering team from Google, from Uber, from Waymo, and a bunch of other companies, so that, again, we can ultimately put our best foot forward on these demands and then process that much more quickly than just a human on their own doing that type of work. And so if you think about the demands, our demands generally tend to be pretty thorough. This is where we include all heads of damages, whether it's pain or suffering, loss of income, medical summaries. We try to put our best foot forward right at the very beginning of the case. And so this is where it's not a templated, 1 or 2 page demand. Our demands generally tend to be pretty thorough here. And the benefit of using it through a mix of software and humans is that it can be pretty consistent, right? So whether it's 10 demands and we have clients who send us hundreds of demands a month, that it's going to be the same quality and that nothing's going to be missed, whether it's case number 1 or case number 30. Again, the turnaround time will be there. And then also, most importantly, it leads to higher settlements from what we've seen. Again, this is very firm specific, but when you have a very thorough demand on day 1, it leads to sooner resolutions and again, making sure that you get the full value of these cases. And then the last thing I'll say before we jump into this is our demands get better with use. So if you think about a human doing demands day in and day out, there is some learning and they do get better with time. But ultimately, when software is in the loop, this is where there isn't a limit on how much you can learn. And so every time we get a demand, we're a little bit faster at processing the actual documentation. And we also have more data points in terms of, hey, what are these cases supposed to go for? And we reference that in the demand itself. So that's the really quick overview here. This is just a snapshot of a little sample of just some of our work. You can't really see this, it might be a little bit pixelated, but this is our repository of over 200,000 cases. And a lot of this is verdict data, but there's a good chunk of settlement data here as well, where every time we do a demand, we get this information back. And the premise is, again, how do we use data to really help us out? Which is, if you think about Colossus on the insurance company side, this is our own version of that. So I'll pause there and I'll let Johnson take over with a quick demo.
Thanks, Rami. Hi, everyone. It's really nice to meet y'all. I'm Johnson. I'm one of the engineers on the EvenUp team. Hi. I'm going to share my screen real quick as well. Please let me know if you guys can see my screen. Great. So again, really excited and honored to be here. I'm excited to demonstrate one of our internal toolings that we use to help our legal analysts streamline a lot of the workflow as it pertains to evaluating medical summaries and medical documents. Before I explain further what I'm going to do, I'm just going to do it first to kind of save time. And while the system is running, I'm going to explain a little bit more about what is going on. So what I just did was upload some documents into a Google Drive, and I'm going to hit play. I'm going to open up the two files that I just uploaded so you guys have context into what we're working with. So the first file is a very simple redacted medical document. This is original text, so you can very easily search for things like date of service, and it will come up because this is a plain text document. The second document is scans, so very similar documents, but in this case, these are fax scans. So you can't just control search for like Cleveland Clinic because nothing's going to show up. This is just a pure image in itself. Just for fun, I've also included a page of my favorite ICD codes. As it turns out, V97.33XD is sucked into jet engine. W55 is like bitten by pig. I feel like if I had to go one day, like spacecraft collision, maybe with Elon Musk flying to Mars, suffering from a V95-43XS is probably the way I like to go. But anyways, the point here is, as you guys can see, these are images that you can't really just search for on a page. So what we're really trying to do is to put these documents to our processor and have the system, it's already done, see, as you guys can see, have the system essentially pick out some of the most important pieces of information that we think is important for our legal analysts to review to help streamline the case. So now that the system has finished running, it comes out the other end. I'm going to refresh this folder. And it essentially generates two new documents. I'm going to download both these documents and show you what they look like. All right, so the first is the PDF document that we have just put in, right? So let's compare the original to the new one. So in this new one, you can see that it's a little bit different. It's a lot more colorful, right? So we notice that all the relevant ICD codes have been highlighted in pink, and all the critical injuries that we think are important are highlighted in light green, right? And this extends throughout the entire document. Just to be sure, let's check our favorite ICD codes. And as you can see, the ICD codes are highlighted in pink. The key search terms that I have also put in here. So if you notice, I put in spacecraft collisions struck by duck and jet engine. These have also been highlighted in a different color. So these are light blue, along with being struck by a turkey. And the rest of the documents, including ICD codes on these hard to read scans, have also been highlighted. So this is the first output that is being generated by this tool. The second document is a Word doc containing the index of everything that was found. So this is a short document, so this is a little bit less relevant, but you can see that basically all the search terms and all the ICD codes have a page number showing where in the document this is being extracted from. On itself, this might not be very useful, but what we can do is we can essentially put the two documents together and come up with something very interesting that looks like this. So this is an example of one of the projects that we're recently working on. In this particular instance, the client we're working on really wanted to see in this 9,000 page document where every single ICD code came from, and whether a list of search terms that they really wanted is present in the document. So with this tooling, what we can do is we can very easily click on a hyperlink and be taken to the exact place in the document where something came from. And this also goes for something like a search term, where, in this case, they wanted to search for necrotizing enterocolitis, and we can click on something and we notice immediately that these terms are highlighted. So this is an example of some of the benefits that technology can help us do to help streamline the process. But before I, turn it back over to Rami, just kind of a highlight of why this is kind of important for people, or why this is important for us. And maybe to kind of highlight it in another document, there's three things that's really happening here, right? There's the speed that Rami talked about. This thing took, maybe like 20 seconds to process. There's the quality of life improvement that can help the reviewer save a lot of time. So we already mentioned the hyperlink, but there's also things on the right here. So as each highlight becomes a comment on the right, the reader can literally just click on these things, be taken to the exact place where an extract is happening, and essentially scroll through the document by just looking through the highlights. And this can help save a lot of time when it comes to reviewing documents, right? And then the third thing is the accuracy of this. So accuracy, both in terms of false positives and false negatives. So when it comes to false positives, it's very easy for you to click on something to see if it's actually there or not. And as it pertains to false negatives, because the machine is a machine, it's almost impossible for it to ever miss something. So I think, leveraging technology here can really help boost the accuracy of these medical summaries to give people a sense of trust when they receive the output. So that, in a quick nutshell, I realized I'm running over time, is a demo that I was really excited to showcase for you guys. Happy to answer any questions, but in the meantime, I'll turn it back to Rami.
Yeah, I think we're good. We're over on time, so I'll pause there. Thank you, everybody, for your time. Really appreciate it. And thanks, Daniel, for letting us present.
Of course, and if you can put your contact information in the chat, so if anybody wants to reach out to you guys, please do that. I mean, I don't know if you guys, so this stuff I geek out on. I know, I don't know why, but like if you think about it, I have a 10,000 page medical record that I have to manually go through, or my paralegal has to manually go through, and literally they just did it in 20 seconds to extract every piece of information that I would need. Like, it's so powerful. The time saving is incredibly powerful, along with all of the other advantages. So thank you so much for that. I appreciate it.